Hey all, it is happy hour with Sarah and Dawn. Now, we had so much fun last week in our conversation. I cannot wait to see what happens with Miss Sarah this week because she is fun to hang out with and talk with. So I picked out a couple of conversations for us to talk about. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was like a big blunder that happened to you during a real estate transaction or like the biggest blunder you have. Now, I have one that I want to share with you, Sarah, that you're totally gonna freaking laugh at.
I can't
Okay.
wait.
I can't wait. So this is
I told you
crazy.
last
And
week to make me feel normal and talk about
okay,
your
well,
stuff.
this one's good.
Okay.
This one's good. So
Okay.
I was showing a client a home, a beautiful home, and it was in the Suntree location. And we were going through the home, like how you have to do the lockbox and you go in and then you show them their home, right? So we're walking around, we're showing the home. It is gorgeous. And this cute little cat, like fluffy
Oh no.
striped cat runs up to us and we're just like petting it. We're like, oh, this is so cute. I was like, make sure you guys don't let the cat out as you're opening doors and going out to the backyard. They're like, okay, we won't leave, we won't let the cat out. I was like, okay, thank you. So everything's good. We go through the house. They like it. It's not for them, but it's a gorgeous home. So I lock the back door. I check and make sure the cat's there. I lock the front door and we leave and we're done for showings for the day. But I always like to go in and tell the agent like, hey, this is how it went. So I texted that
Right.
agent specifically and I was like, the house is lovely. It's just not for them, but that cat is so adorable. And then
Oh
she sends
no.
me a text back. Dot, dot, dot. What cat?
Oh crap.
I was like, there was a cat in the home. Like I swear I didn't let any cat in the home. And she's like, hold on. So I'm like getting nervous. My heart is pounding at this point. I'm like, oh shit, did the cat get in like when we opened the door or when they opened the door? I mean, it had to, like,
Right.
whatever.
Just
So she
walked in.
texts her clients and I guess they're on their way home. Speaking of
Speaking of
cats.
cats.
This is Shas's cat. And she loves to come up here when I'm doing like videos and stuff. She's so funny. But anyway, so the agent texts the clients and they're on their way home and they're like, we don't have a cat. My
Oh my
heart is
God.
like pounding at this time. I'm like dying. Like, I don't know what I did not let
Oh
this cat in.
my.
I swear to you. So I guess when they got home, it ended up being that it was the neighbor's cat and
Oh
it
my.
came in through the back door somehow. And they were like, it's all fine. It's good. But that
That
was
is
so
hilarious.
crazy. So now, like, I always check before I text an agent, like, if there are animals on the property, let me know,
Yeah,
yes
that I
or no,
need to know
because
of. Or
I don't want
I
to add
swear.
to anybody's household.
No, and I swear, like things like every showing, something is bound to happen. If you have like a smooth day in real estate, let's just say it's a good day. It's a good
Yeah.
day. I had the seller one time who I guess we didn't really realize just how bad his drinking problem was.
Oh no.
And I'll tell you about that listing appointment in a minute. But one of the showings, my agent or the agent that was showing it was a really popular house in a popular area. And I mean, I think one day we had like 17 showings just like back to back to back to back. So I didn't have a vehicle, so he just stayed out of the way or whatever. And like mid-afternoon, the agent calls me and she's like, "Hey, I need to tell you something." She goes, "Everything's fine."
Okay.
But she goes, "Yeah, that's the scariest part is when they say everything's fine." She goes,
Okay.
your seller was so nice and he showed us around the whole house, but he was so intoxicated that when he
Oh,
went to show us the riding mower that he was adding to the sale of the house, she goes, he lifted up the deck of the mower and he face planted on the blades of the lawnmower. It's not funny. I know. She goes, he cut his head. He cut his head
oh,
open. He cut his head open. There was blood everywhere. And she goes, but he is so intoxicated that like he's saying he's fine. She goes, we made sure he was laying down with an ice pack on his head. She goes, but you really need to call somebody because I think he should go to the emergency room. And I'm
oh
like, oh
my
my
God.
God. So yeah, we did call and he ended up having to go get stitches. And the agent calls me back. She goes, "Yeah, my people just really aren't interested in the house." I'm like, "Why would you be?" Oh my God. And the
Well,
guy,
she handled that situation really good because I have this weird problem that when somebody gets hurt, I start laughing. Like I don't know why. Like it's terrible. So I'm glad that
it's
that
like
did
a
not happen to
nervous
me.
thing.
It
Oh
is.
my
It's
God.
probably a nervous thing, but I can't help it. Like, and I don't mean to, but I just like crack up laughing, and it's quite embarrassing actually. So she handled it really good.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000%. But like my whole point being when I got the call, I was on the golf course, and I'm getting ready to tee off and I always put my phone on speaker as I'm getting ready to hit. And she's saying that I'm like, I just dropped everything. And I'm like, I knew this guy had a drinking issue, but like,
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, crazy. Yeah. When I did as a listing appointment, he brought me through the house. First time meeting him, brings me through the house, and he keeps hiccuping as we're walking through the house. I'm like, okay, whatever. Brings me through the
So
house
you
and
knew you
taking
were in
notes.
for it. You knew you
Well,
were in for it.
yeah, but I mean, he seemed like so just with it.
Right.
So, and he was super nice. So I leave the house. I'm like, all right, I'll give you a call in a couple days once I get your market value and whatever. So I call him No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't call him for a couple days. He calls me the day before I was going to call him. I think it was like a day or 2 days after our listing appointment, yelling at me. And he goes, "This is so unprofessional. You said you were going to come walk through my house and meet me and do a listing appointment." And he goes, "I can't believe you put me off this long." And he's just going on and on and on. And I'm like, "Hey, I did come through your house. I was there." He goes, "Who let you in?" I'm like, "You?" And he goes, so I start sending him pictures on his phone. I start sending him pictures of the pictures I took of his house when I was there to list it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't remember any of this." And then like, so then at that point I was like, okay, I need to talk to your attorney just to make sure that like you are knowledgeable of everything you're signing, because you can't remember me walking through your house. Like this could end very badly if we don't like.
Oh yeah.
Long story short, we ended up selling the house over asking price. He moved
and
he's in a better place, but it was just like one of those things that I'm like, I am not just a real estate agent right now. I feel like I'm a therapist. We talked about this last week. Like,
I know
you wear all sorts of hats, you know? It's like,
well, that was really smart of you too, to contact the attorney, because I know, I can't remember specifically, but there is a law saying like they have to be sound of mind in order to like sign papers, document, and contracts. And so like, if he's not remembering things, like that's good that you would contact the attorney to make sure like, hey, does he know what he's signing? Is he fully aware of what he's doing? Maybe not some days, but some days maybe he is fully aware of what he's doing.
Right.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And then he, once we sold the house, he kept calling me, wanted to take me to dinner. Like, we're fine. It's okay.
Those type of situations are sometimes frustrating, especially as a woman doing real estate. Like I will get random messages from men like, "Oh, you're gorgeous." And I'm like, like on my professional account, on my professional Facebook page.
It's so hard.
"You're gorgeous." And so my reply back, "Is there any real estate help that I can help you with?" Like I try and keep it so professional, but sometimes it's hard because some of these weirdos can be very persistent. And then you don't know with like scams and stuff. It's like, it's crazy. But I mean, it can be uncomfortable too, especially if you're face to face and they want to take you out to dinner. And
it's nuts. Or my favorite part is like, when you're out or whatever and they find out you're a real estate agent, they're like, "Oh, let me give you my business, or give me your business card. I've been thinking about selling my house." And all it is like to try to pick you up. You're like, "Give me a break."
To get your phone number, right?
Right.
Can I have your business card?
I'm like, Google my name. Don't waste my business cards because these cost money.
Yeah. And it's not like you're hiding that you're not, you're married and I'm married. Right. And it's like, it says it on our profiles, and it's like, we have pictures of our families online. So it's just, it's so bizarre.
Right. And don't use our business or our career
as an excuse to try to pick us up.
That just makes me laugh. It makes me laugh.
I did a showing with a guy, and he came recommended from another agent, like, "Oh, like I don't live in Florida anymore. Will you take over for this client for me? He's amazing. He's really sweet. He does like investment stuff." So I went and took him and did a couple showings with him. And at one of the houses, he's like, "You're beautiful." I'm like, "Thank you."
I know. What do you say? Okay.
You're beautiful too. No, but yeah. So I was like, "Thank you." He's like, "Hey, so what are you doing after this?" Working? What am I doing after this? "Yeah, I'm working." He's like, "Well, you can spare 15, 20 minutes to come out to breakfast with me." I don't want to. Like, how do you reply? So like I'm freaking sweating at this point because it's just me and him, and like he came recommended. I was like, "Oh God." How do you tell them no and stay professional? And it's hard if you're not experienced in that, those kind of situations. And for young real estate agents too, like it's frustrating.
It's intimidating, and it's scared.
It's intimidating.
I think my best advice would be to keep it 1,000% professional and simple, and just say, "I don't think that's a professional move on my part. I'm here for strictly business, but thank you for the offer. And let me know what you think of the property," and just cut and dry and then leave.
I like that.
Because it can put you in a very awkward situation. And then, if you put yourself to where you're agreeing or kind of being like, "Oh, not today, maybe, a different time, I don't have time," then for one, you're wasting your time because obviously you're not interested or whatever, but it's not professional.
Right.
Because every action you make, even when you're not doing work related stuff as a real estate agent, I feel like it reflects you as a professional when you're just even out having fun,
Yeah.
But back to that, if you kind of lead on the conversation that it might happen someday, then are they just reaching out to you for that? Like they're wasting your time. If they're having you show property, just to one day get a date with you, then there's never gonna be a transaction happening, So I think when you're out and you keep things obviously, professional, what you want, just cut and dry, keep it clean and simple. And then if they get offended at that point, then that's really a person you don't want to be working with anyway, if they can't respect your boundaries or whatever. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a different world nowadays. I
Yeah.
swear. It's
Yeah. And
like,
I feel like sometimes, and like you said, you're always being, as a real estate agent, people are always like, have that in the back of their mind. And so it's hard, but it's scary to think that you might lose a deal over it. But what you said to me was like, kind of was light, like switched on a light in my head. Like, they're going to waste your time. So it's not even worth the deal, even if you did get a deal out of it. Every time you go show them a
right.
property, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be nervous.
And
You're
you're
going to
not,
be,
yeah. And you're not being able to give them the best of you being in a situation that you're uncomfortable in anyway. Right.
yeah.
And, um, it's just, I guess there's a time where you have to say, is it worth it to me? And what is your
Mm-hmm.
time worth to you? What is your,
Yeah.
self-respect and your stress-free visit, that kind of thing? Like, is it worth it? A lot of times I
Yeah.
think the more you value yourself, the more you're going to say, no, it's not worth it. I mean, I've
Right.
even had maintenance guys try to do things, to get my numbers and stuff and desperate for maintenance help, but I'm like, no, sorry,
Yeah.
I'll call you when I need you. But until then, don't bother me, and I'll never call them back because it's like, don't bother me. I don't have time for this. But,
Oh.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, talking about like real estate blunders, I think there are blunders daily in real estate in all aspects. You're dealing with, the appraisers, the home inspectors, the lenders, the other agents, and here, like the attorneys. There's so many people that you cross paths with during a transaction that, like I said before, if you have a solid transaction with no blunders and no like, oh my God, count yourself lucky because
Yeah.
there's always something that pops up. Real
I will
estate
never
agents
get
have to
that
kind of like
image.
flow.
I won't get that image out of my head now, the guy falling into the lawnmower.
Oh my gosh.
You
That
must
was
have
so
been in
stressful.
shock.
That phone
Well, to
call
get
ruined
that
my
phone
golf game for
call,
that day.
yeah,
Yeah,
to get that phone
ruined
call.
my golf game for that day. No,
Okay,
no, thank you.
I have a
So,
fun question now. Well, not really a fun, but just like because you've got good answers and I love your answers. But
oh geez.
give me a good way to handle rejection. So like, I don't know, you're at a listing appointment and they say no. Like, how do you handle that?
Well, it depends on why they're saying no. So, like, if you are at a listing appointment and, they'll say, okay, I've had times where they're like, you do your whole spiel or whatever, and they'll be like, okay, well, I have two other agents coming to look at look at my house or whatever to give me markets or whatever, and then I'll make my decision then. So then at that point, I'll go off on like, I don't really go off. I'm like, okay, great. Let me know, just keep in mind that, when I list your house, this is how I market it. This is how I talk about it. All these things, this is kind of where my network is, my sphere of influence. I really I kind of resell myself there. Like if I know that they're getting interviewed by other agents. If I'm the only agent and it's like, let's say they're like, well, no, I'm going to try to sell it by myself first. I think this seems easier, whatever. Then I'll go into, I don't think you always want to just take a hard, solid no and just be like, okay, thank you. And like leave. If they say, for sale by owner want to sell it by themselves, then you kind of go into what benefits them as an agent selling it. Okay, well,
Yeah.
you're worried about this much commission. Let's list your house a tad bit higher or whatever to compensate. Like what you just kind of like fix what their problem is. Flat out no's, I take it with grace, and honestly, like, I think the biggest thing is you can't get offended when somebody says no. We test out, look at it like, how many different shampoos you try before you like one,
Yeah.
it's what works for you and what you might use is different than what this person might use. And
Right.
it's very, it really is where somebody wants to feel comfortable. So I think when you're doing your whole listing appointment, the biggest thing is to talk in the best interest of them, not necessarily you getting a listing. If I have somebody be like, no, I need to wait. So actually I have a listing that this just happened a couple weeks ago to me. The seller that I had just met on the phone,
Mhm.
I met her at her mom's house. Her mom was going into a nursing home and she needed to sell the house. She needed a legal market value on it just for the attorneys and paperwork for the family and stuff. So as we're going, I'm learning a little bit more about her and her mom. And, we just kind of clicked. We just started talking about things. And she said, well, the neighbor across the street, my mom already said that he gets first dibs if he wants to buy it. She loves him and blah, blah, blah. And he's going to buy it. Well, I happen to know the neighbor. So I had mentioned to her, I said, okay, we can absolutely respect your mom's wishes and offer it to him first, but you still need to do what's best for you and your family. And that's get the best dollar amount we can for your house. So what I would do, I said, so what I would recommend is we put your house on the market for market value. let this neighbor know that this is what it's going on for. And if we get multiple bids coming in that are over the asking price, we'll give this neighbor first opportunity to match the highest bid. So that way you're still getting your bidding war, you're still getting top dollar, and you're still respecting your mom's wishes by selling it to the neighbor instead of just giving it to him for half of market value, you know?
I think that's a great
so she's suggestion. Like, yeah. So then she was like, okay, well, I obviously have to run this through the attorneys and I have to talk to my mom still and I have to do this and whatever. And I'm like, no, absolutely. And so after that was the end of business conversation for her, for us. She already knew what she needed to do. But then weekly I reach out and I'll be like, how are things going? How's your mom? Is there anything I can personally do for you? She told me she was sick with the flu. I dropped soup off at her house. Like, you really just make it like, personal. I mean, the headaches and stress that you both are going to go through in a deal, you really want to be able to connect with that person. And I think I might have said this last week, but I do make it a goal of mine to have a personal relationship built after the transaction. You keep it very professional through the transactions. I feel more times than not, we leave and close a transaction with a friendship more so than a, workship. So when handling rejection, obviously don't take it personal. And don't always take it as a no, never. Take it as a no for now. And, and kind of see what else they're looking for, what they might need, or, and it just might be a nervous thing, committing to a real estate agent might be something that they're just not ready for at that time. So
is that always be, what? Is that where she went then? Like, you brought her soup and.
So, yep. So, and then unfortunately her mother just passed away.
Okay.
But the executor, oh, hey, baby. The executor has already reached out to me and said, you were on the paperwork to sell the house. So I'll be reaching out to you shortly. So she, and I get personal text messages from her all the time. I'm so glad, I met you. You're, you were just what I needed in my life. Like, it's just like one of those things, but I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
Did you end up selling her house, or is it still on the market?
We're still in the process of getting the listing paperwork done because this was all like so fresh. So I will be selling it though.
Okay.
But yeah, so rejections, biggest thing, don't take it personal. Don't take it as a no, never, no for now, and always continue that connection with them. You never want a seller to think that the only reason you're reaching out to them is to make money off of them. So always keep that connection, that you genuinely care and you're genuinely interested and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's so amazing, like, how many friends you create through being a real estate agent too, because it's like, it eventually leads into a friendship because you're there for them for one of the biggest financial decisions that they'll ever make in their life and the most stressful situations. And it's like a roller coaster. It's up and down. And so you're there with them through that. And so there's no choice but to build that bond. And so if you don't have that connection in the beginning, it's going to be a rough road ahead, so having those connections with them, and it's being genuine, is you build a bond with them and you become friends with them, the lifelong friends. And it's so amazing. Some of my best friends I met because I helped them buy a home, so it's amazing.
And, and if they still don't want to list with you or work with you during, through a transaction, again, it's not, don't be offended by it. It's just it won't work for them. And we can't work for everybody. We all have different personalities. So it's like buying a car, how many do you test drive before you actually settle to one? So I think that's the biggest thing that I had to learn through the more real estate that I did, is don't take it personal, because I would get wicked offended. And then I would question myself and second guess myself every time I did something. Like, is this why they told me no? Because I try to change it, and it's not it, be genuine and be you. And people don't like to see fake. So be genuine and be you. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but it's not on you. It just didn't work out. Thing, so.
Right. Yeah. And that's so true. It's just, that's what, like you said too, you're trying to change it. And I think new real estate agents and myself as well, in the beginning, I felt like every time I had that rejection, I had to change myself or change my presentation or change, because there was something about me that they probably didn't like. And so I had to change it. But then you're changing all the time. You're not authentic anymore.
Right.
You're trying to conform to what you think people would like. And people don't like that. They don't like fake. No. So you've got to be your authentic self, and they're either going to love you or hate you. And if they love you, then you're going to be the best real estate agent for them. And if they're not into you, then it wouldn't work out anyways. You'd both be miserable through the whole thing.
Right. Exactly. And just think how much better of a job you would do if you could be genuinely yourself instead of, I can't imagine, I think in the beginning I guess still now, but when you have clients that you feel like you have to be somebody else for or try to impress, it is like a nervous thing where, just because they might have an expectations that you obviously can meet, but you need to deliver them in a different way that you're really not used to. And it's just like one of those on edge things all the time. So that's why I think the more genuine you can be, the more right type of sellers and buyers you're going to have for you too.
Yeah. So, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're so busy today, so I appreciate you.
No.
So, all right, we'll say bye to everybody, and we're going to do this again next week, right, Sarah?
Yes, every week, meet us here. So,
meet us here. Okay.